Hi guys, welcome back to STEMmin'. I'm Miss Stephanie and I'm here today to talk about paper chromatography. Chromatography, it's a big word, but don't worry, I'm going to explain what it is. Chromatography is simply a scientific method of separating a large chemical or stain or anything you can think of mixture of many components and breaking it down into its individual particle sizes by spacing out the larger ones from the smaller ones. Now this can be done through gas processes, gel processes, liquid processes. Today, I'm going to teach you guys how to do it with water and paper. Now, there's a couple things that you're going to need to get started with. They're really simple to find. So find yourself a coffee filter, some Scotch tape. You'll need a paper towel, some non-permanent markers, so water-based washable markers are the best. I've picked black and purple today, but you can choose whatever colors you like. However, hint, black is a very exciting color to watch when we do chromatography. A pair of scissors and two tall clear glasses with just a little bit of water inside, not even an inch. Okay, go find those materials real fast. Pause the video. We'll be right back to talk about more. Okay, guys, so you should have all your materials together. This is a simple, fun, easy project. So we're going to use paper chromatography to separate out the colored pigments in your markers. So pigments are simply the colors that you find in dyes and inks. Usually a pigment is in powdered form, and then we add a liquid like water, and that's what makes it writable into an ink. So when you sign your name or you write a letter, basically you're just using pigments mixed in a liquid, and as the liquid dries, the pigment remains. So take your filter very first and fold it in half. Just like that. Because we have two markers, we're going to need two filters. Now, filter paper works best because it's a little bit more porous. It allows for more liquid to pass through it. You could try regular paper, but coffee filters is going to work best for your experiment. So once you have it in half, cut it straight down the middle. It doesn't have to be exact. We're having fun with science, not doing exact science today. And once you get your two halves, set them aside. Then find your washable markers. Like I said, today I'm going to use purple and black, but you could use any colors you wanted. And pull those aside. On your filter paper, you're going to put one end eventually into your cup. So choose an end that you want to dip into the cup. Then pinch it, just like I'm pinching it here, and then go about 2 finger widths up, and right above my finger is where I'm going to start my line. So you don't have to do a lot of color on the filter. You just need to make a bold line across right above where you're going to stick your filter into the cup and into the water. But make sure you get a lot of ink on there. Now, one important step that I forgot to mention, remember that paper towel? Well, you're going to want to put that paper towel underneath your filter when you make your line because it leaks through. And I actually just got black washable marker on my cutting board. So it's fine, it's washable, but don't make the same mistake I do. Put a paper towel under it. That way you don't have any questions from your mom about what you did to her countertops. So once you make the line nice and bold, just like that, paper filter 1 is ready to go. You can even mark what color because we're separating out colors, pigments, through chromatography. So you could put a B on top for black, and then you'd know that this filter is your black one. It may not stay there, but at least you did your best to mark it. So go ahead and repeat with the other filter. Remember, bottom, pinch, and then go about 2 finger lengths up, and that's where you make your line on top of the paper towel. Now, chromatography, have you ever heard of forensic science? Forensic science is a science that detectives and their lab techs use. So say a detective walks into a crime scene and there's a mysterious stain on the floor that he has no idea, or she has no idea what it could be. Well, a tech can take a swab, put it in a sample evidence bag, and take it back to their lab. And then from that swab, they can use chromatography in one of its many forms to then identify all the bits and pieces of that mixture to help identify then the overall mixture based on knowns that we have a database for in science. So that's one way chromatography is actually used in the real world, is to solve for unknown mixtures, stains, blood types, etc. All right, so I have filter number 2 with my big, bold purple one. I forgot to put a P on top. And I'm going to set those aside and grab my 2 glass cups. So I've already got water in these. You don't need a lot of water. And the other important thing to do is when you put your filter in the cup, you don't want the black line or the whatever colored line to go into the water. You want it to be suspended above the water. Because what's going to happen is when you put it in the cup, water is going to wick up the filter. Wick is just a fancy word for travel. And when it wicks, it's through capillary action, which just means that it can travel against the flow of, say, gravity. So as water wicks upward, it's going to travel through the filter paper up into our dark line of ink, and then slowly but surely push all of the different pigments in that ink upwards. And it's going to start separating out the different pigments based on size, based on attraction to the paper, and how fast they can travel. So even though black ink, black is one color, black potentially has other pigments in it that we're going to see, but we may not see through our experiment. So make sure you do the same thing with your other filter. Just barely touch the bottom end in the water and then let it stand up. If you have trouble keeping your filter standing, you can tape the edges, but I'm not going to have any problem today, it looks like, so I'm just going to let those sit without taping, because the more filter I have standing upright, the farther my pigments can travel. So we're going to set those aside, and what you're going to want to do is check back every few minutes to see what's happening. The wicking process actually takes off pretty fast. I can already see in the black one, if I can do this without shaking, it has already reached the bottom of the black mark. So you can see kind of the pigment starting to fade out with the water. So that's going to continue to happen, and it's going to keep growing. So we're going to set those aside for a minute. Go ahead and pause your video, watch your coffee filters, and when we come back, I'll show you some examples of what happened. All right, guys, so now you should have let your coffee filters sit aside for a little bit while they are performing chromatography. And if you let them sit for about half an hour, you may start seeing something like this. This was an experiment that I did earlier today, and this is black. This is the black marker. So as you can see, I started at the bottom edge down here, and the water wicked all the way up, carrying the different colored pigments, and black actually proves to be a mixture of blues, reds, and yellows, our primary colors, and then combinations of those make our secondary colors. So you see some orange and some purples going on in there. So black even though it's one color that we usually think of as black, is actually made up of several different pigments. And we found that out through our experiment. Now, this is another marker I did. This was actually a brown marker from earlier today. And not as exciting, but you can still tell that brown is mostly made up of some yellow and some red pigments. So that gives it the brown kind of appearance. So we find out that brown isn't just its own color, it's actually made up of several different pigments. So that was fun, but now what can you guys do with this at home? Well, let me show you. If you have extra coffee filters, get creative. Get your markers out and decorate a coffee filter with all kinds of colors, different shapes, different sizes, and once you've got it colored, there's two ways that you can do your chromatography with this sheet. You can do the same thing we did with our first filter sheets and get a cup of water. I barely put any water in the bottom of this. If you notice with this sheet, I left the circle so that I have no dye when I touch the center of the filter, and that will allow for wicking to take place. The other option that I've used before is you can actually take a coffee filter that's colored and just suspend it from a high place, say like a shower rod or a curtain rod. Just make sure that there's no curtains or anything that can be dyed with color from your markers. And then you can take any sort of leftover bottle. This is just water. It's not, the label should be pulled off, but it's just water. And once you suspend it, just spray it a few places and then let it sit, and you'll get those neat color combinations as well from water wicking through the coffee filter. So this one has to sit a little while for something to happen to it, but one that I made earlier this way is this little guy right here. And then what I did is pinched him in the middle, tied him off. You can even use a clothespin if you have one. And I made a little butterfly out of them. Decorate the clothespin if you use one. Put a face on it. You can give it antennae. And then I actually put this little guy in my roses. So it's a cute little present that I can give to my mother for Mother's Day. Or you can do anytime you want to give mom an extra special gift. But that's a cool way that you can use chromatography and the separating of pigments to make a little arts and craft present to give to someone special. So, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this experiment. It's a lot of fun. It doesn't take a lot of time, and you can do a lot with it. Until next time, I'm Miss Stephanie, and keep on stimming. Bye.